Let me start with something that might feel a little too familiar. You're in your early or mid-30s. You've got maybe $25,000 or $40,000 saved. You're making more than you were 5 years ago. Your rent isn't cheap, but it's manageable. And every time you open social media, someone you know is posting about finally becoming a homeowner. You run the numbers in your head. Your rent is $1,800 a month. A mortgage on a similar place might be $2,400. That feels like a stretch. But then you hear people say, rent is throwing money away. And now you're stuck. Do you keep renting and investing the difference? Or do you stretch for the house and start building equity? Here's what's actually happening in that moment. You're not just choosing between rent and mortgage. You're choosing between two very different financial paths, two different risk profiles, and honestly, two different identities. My name is Tom, and I spend way too much time thinking about how ordinary people build wealth without losing their minds. If you're someone who feels stuck choosing between renting and buying and worries about making the wrong move, consider subscribing if this video helps. Let's break this down in a way that actually reflects real life. First, we need to get rid of the slogan thinking. Rent is throwing money away. Buying is always better. Just invest and forget about it. Those phrases feel good because they're simple, but the money decisions rarely are. According to data from the Federal Reserve, the median net worth of homeowners is significantly higher than renters. That sounds like a clear win for buying, but most people don't realize this. That gap isn't only because of the house. It's also because homeowners tend to be older, earn more, and stay in one place longer. The house is part of the story, not the entire explanation. So let's walk through some actual numbers. Imagine someone making $60,000 a year. After taxes, maybe they're taking home around $45,000. Your rent is $1,800 a month. A mortgage on a similar place might be $2,400. That feels like a stretch. That's $18,000 a year. They managed to save $10,000 per year by being fairly disciplined. Not extreme, just consistent. Now compare that to buying. Same person, they buy a modest place for $300,000. They put 10% down, $30,000. Their mortgage payment, including taxes and insurance, is $2,200 per month. That's $26,400 per year. Add maintenance, let's say $3,000 per year on average. Now they're at roughly $29,000 per year in housing costs. That's $11,000 more per year than renting. On a $60,000 income, that's massive. If they keep the house, they may only save $2,000 per year instead of $10,000. So here's the math over 10 years. Scenario A, rent and invest $10,000 per year. Assume a modest 7% annual return. After 10 years, that's roughly $138,000. Scenario B, buy, save only $2,000 per year invested at 7%. After 10 years, that's around $27,000. But you also have equity. Let's say after 10 years, you've paid down $50,000 of principal and the house appreciates at 3% annually. A $300,000 home at 3% growth for 10 years becomes roughly $403,000. So your equity might be around $150,000 to $160,000 depending on loan structure. On paper, the homeowner looks ahead. But now this is where it gets interesting. The homeowner had less flexibility for 10 years, less liquidity, more stress during repairs. And if they needed to move in year 5, transaction costs might wipe out much of that advantage. Meanwhile, the renter had liquidity, optionality, and less financial pressure. So who comes out ahead? It depends on stability. Homeownership quietly rewards people who stay put. Renting quietly rewards mobility. Most people don't calculate that part. Let's talk about psychology for a second. There's something called loss aversion. We feel losses about twice as strongly as gains. When you're renting, you feel like you're losing $1,500 every month. It feels visible. It leaves your account and builds nothing you can see. When you own, your mortgage payment feels different, even though interest and property taxes are also gone. You just don't feel them the same way because part of the payment becomes equity. That psychological difference alone drives a lot of decisions. Now let's look at a second scenario. Someone earning $120,000 a year. Take home might be around $85,000. They're renting for $2,200 per month, about $26,000 per year. They're saving $20,000 per year consistently. They've built up $70,000 invested already. They feel behind because their peers are buying $600,000 homes. So they buy. They put $60,000 down. Their new all-in monthly housing cost is $3,800. That's $45,600 per year. That's nearly $20,000 more annually than they were paying in rent. Here's what quietly happens. They don't invest $20,000 per year anymore. They invest maybe $5,000. Their emergency fund feels thinner. They feel house rich, cash poor. But their lifestyle also inflates. They buy furniture. They renovate the kitchen. They start caring about curb appeal. Their total annual housing-related spending isn't just the mortgage. It becomes $55,000 some years. Now let's project 15 years. If they had stayed renting and invested $20,000 per year at 7%, that's roughly $500,000 added, plus growth on their existing $70,000. If they buy and only invest $5,000 per year, that's about $125,000 invested over 15 years plus returns. Maybe it grows to $200,000. The house? If that $600,000 home grows at 3% annually for 15 years, it becomes roughly $935,000. Sounds great, until you factor in property taxes, maintenance, interest, and opportunity cost of the $60,000 down payment. This is where most people oversimplify. They compare rent versus mortgage payment. They don't compare total capital allocation. There's a difference. Now I want to gently challenge something you've probably heard. Just buy as much house as you can afford. Real estate always goes up. It doesn't always go up. It goes up over long periods in many markets. But short to medium term volatility exists. Ask anyone who bought in 2006 in certain areas. And even if it does go up, the timing matters. Let's talk about a third scenario. Small business owner. Income fluctuates between $90,000 and $140,000 depending on the year. They're renting for $2,000 per month. They have $100,000 saved between investments and cash. They're considering buying a $450,000 home with 20% down, $90,000. That would leave them with only $10,000 in liquid reserves. Mortgage, taxes, insurance, maintenance, maybe $3,200 per month, around $38,000 per year. Here's what's actually happening. By putting $90,000 into the house, they reduce their liquidity dramatically. That $90,000 could also be used to expand their business, hire help, or cushion a bad year. If their business grows at 15% annually when reinvesting capital, that $90,000 deployed into the business could generate returns far exceeding 3% home appreciation. But the house feels safer. This is mental accounting. We treat money differently depending on its label. House money feels stable, business investment feels risky. But the actual risk depends on the person and their skills. If their business historically returns 15% on reinvested capital, the opportunity cost of tying up $90,000 in home equity is significant. Now, this doesn't mean never buy. It means the answer depends on your income stability and growth potential. Let's zoom out for a second. Home ownership is forced saving. Renting requires voluntary saving. That's one of the biggest differences. If you're the type of person who struggles to invest consistently, owning can act like a financial autopilot. You build equity whether you think about it or not. But if you're disciplined, renting can allow more flexibility and higher capital allocation efficiency. Now let's talk about something people rarely mention: identity shifts. When you buy a home, your risk tolerance often drops. You become more protective. You might pass on career opportunities in another city. You might avoid starting a business. You might stay in a stable job because you have a mortgage. That's not inherently bad, but it changes your trajectory. Let me give you a simple example. You're renting. Your monthly expenses are $3,000. You have $40,000 saved. That's over a year of runway. You could quit your job and try something new. You're renting. Your monthly expenses are $3,000. You have $40,000 saved. That's over a year of runway. That's 4 months of runway. Your choice is narrow. This is the opportunity cost blindness that most rent versus buy conversations ignore. Now I want to challenge another common phrase: 6 figures solves everything. It doesn't. At $120,000, lifestyle inflation becomes stealthy. You upgrade neighborhoods. You upgrade expectations. The gap between renting and buying grows in absolute dollars. That gap matters. Let's run one more side by side. Person A rents for $1,800 per month and invests the $800 difference between that and a potential $2,600 mortgage. $800 per month is $9,600 per year. Over 20 years at 7%, that alone becomes roughly $420,000. That's not small. Person B buys. Their home grows at 3% annually from $350,000 to roughly $630,000 over 20 years. They build equity through principal paydown and appreciation. Maybe total equity reaches $500,000 to $550,000. On paper, outcomes are closer than people expect, but the lived experience is different. Person A might move twice for better jobs, increasing income from $70,000 to $110,000 over that period. Person B might stay geographically stable, with income growing from $70,000 to $90,000. Income growth often dwarfs housing decisions. That's something we don't talk about enough. Your biggest wealth lever is usually your earning power. Housing decisions affect savings rate and risk, but income trajectory often dominates long-term outcomes. There's also the almost there psychology. You save for years for a down payment. You hit $80,000, now you're close. You feel pressure to buy because you're ready. But sometimes that pressure is social, not financial. Fear of missing out is powerful in housing markets. We anchor to current prices and assume they'll keep rising. We feel urgency. But urgency isn't a financial strategy. Here's a practical framework. Ask yourself 3 questions. 1. How long am I realistically staying in this location? If the answer is less than 5 years, renting often wins once you include transaction costs. 2. What is my income trajectory? Stable and predictable, buying becomes more comfortable. Variable or high growth potential tied to mobility. Renting might preserve optionality. 3. Am I disciplined enough to invest the difference? Be honest. If you won't invest the extra $800 per month, renting doesn't magically create wealth. Now let's talk about risk tolerance shifts over time. In your 20s, volatility feels abstract. In your 40s with kids, it feels personal. Owning can provide psychological stability that renting doesn't, even if the math is similar. There's value in sleeping well at night. But don't confuse emotional comfort with guaranteed financial superiority. The Bank for International Settlements has noted that housing markets can experience long cycles of boom and slowdown. They are not linear upward graphs. Meanwhile, global equity markets historically have delivered strong long-term returns, but with volatility. So it's not about real estate versus stocks. It's about concentration. Buying a home often concentrates a large portion of your net worth into one asset in one geographic market. Renting allows diversification if you actually invest. Here's something subtle. When you own, you're leveraged. A $300,000 house with $30,000 down is 10x leverage. If it goes up 3%, that's $9,000 gain on a $30,000 investment. 30% return on equity before costs. But leverage cuts both ways. If it drops 10%, your equity takes a massive hit. Most people underestimate that emotional volatility. Now, I don't want this to sound like renting is smarter. For many families, buying aligns with long-term stability, community roots, and predictable payments once the mortgage is fixed. Over 30 years, rents typically rise. A fixed mortgage eventually becomes cheaper in real terms. That inflation hedge matters. But the key is alignment. Are you buying because it fits your 10 to 20 year plan, or because you're tired of feeling behind? Let's talk about burnout. Aggressively saving for a down payment can take years. When you finally buy, there's a release. You ease up, you justify spending. The financial discipline that got you there fades. Meanwhile, long-term investing while renting requires sustained discipline without a big celebratory milestone. One path gives you a trophy, the other requires quiet consistency. Neither is morally superior. They just demand different personality traits. If you're analytical and patient, renting and investing might suit you. If you value structure and forced progress, owning might. The real mistake is not choosing intentionally. Here's something I've noticed. People rarely regret buying a modest home they can comfortably afford. They often regret stretching too far. So instead of asking rent or buy, maybe ask how much house relative to my income keeps my savings rate intact. If buying cuts your savings rate from 20% to 3%, that's a red flag. If buying keeps your total housing costs under, say, 30% of take-home pay and you can still invest consistently, that's a different story. And remember this, wealth is not built by a single decision. It's built by thousands of monthly behaviors. Whether $2,000 goes to rent or a mortgage matters. But whether you consistently invest $1,000 per month for 20 years matters more. Whether you grow your income from $60,000 to $100,000 matters more. Whether you avoid lifestyle inflation when you get a raise matters more. Housing is one lever, not the only lever. If you're feeling stuck right now, sitting on $50,000, wondering if you should finally make the move, slow down. Run the full numbers. Model 5 years, 10 years. Consider mobility. Consider stress. Consider opportunity cost. And be honest about your habits. There isn't a universal winner between rent and mortgage. Yeah, there's only alignment or misalignment with your life. And here's the part I think matters most. The real milestone isn't owning a home. It's reaching the point where your financial decisions are proactive instead of reactive. Where you choose because it fits your plan, not because you feel pressure. So I'm curious, are you renting and investing right now? Are you saving for a down payment? Did you buy recently and feel stretched or relieved? Let me know in the comments where you are financially. I read them and it helps shape future videos. If this gave you clarity instead of just another slogan, hit like so more people see it. And if you want more calm, realistic conversations about money, the kind that actually respect your situation, consider subscribing. You don't need to win the rent versus mortgage debate. You need to make a decision you can live with consistently for the next decade. That's where the real advantage shows.